Hello, hello, beautiful people. What is today? Today is Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Let me go ahead and make sure I push live over on my Instagram. We're multi streaming today. Welcome, welcome, everyone. So, today we're discussing a fun topic, and that is about your value. And this is a really interesting one because I think that in today's world, you listen to a lot of content, everyone has their own opinions. And this is a beautiful thing because obviously we are lucky enough to live in a world where, at least here in US, where we have the freedom of speech to a certain degree, right? We can voice things and have our own belief systems around most things. And today we're going to talk about value because this is something that a lot of people will argue is determined by things you have or by the person that you are. Some people even would say that maybe because you're younger, you have more value, or maybe because you have more college education, maybe you're more valuable, or maybe because you make more money and you're more successful materially, that would make you a more valuable person. So I'm going to discuss value in terms of how value is created, because first of all, everything is first created in the mind, right? And in your belief systems. If you really want to be seen or known or believe you are a valuable person, then it starts with yourself. And I know this sounds crazy because a lot of people think that you have to get your value from something external, right? So you have to use your external situation as an excuse to find value on yourself. But what if your value comes from your existence? What if you're valuable because you exist? And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I think that if you have the foundational belief that you are enough and that you are valuable because you exist, you have a solid foundation of self-esteem. But if you don't have that, then you're going to have a rocky foundation and you're going to find that you have a lot of insecurities and that you're needing to fill your cup of self-esteem with stuff, with things, with accomplishments. Why is this an issue? Because you're going to have a lot harder time finding peace and joy and a lot of maybe windy paths of eventually making it back to the joy that you have within yourself. So this is a very philosophical even conversation, but I'm going to try to bridge the gap between practicality and spirituality. So you're the value. I want to give an example of this to maybe drive this home and make it a little bit easier to understand. In a business, right, or in a situation where people are asking you what is your value, maybe even in dating, right? Someone might ask you, what is it that you bring to the table, or where's your value here? How you answer that says everything, right? Where does your value come from? I mean, of course, you're not going to sit there and be like, oh, my value comes because I exist. No. But everything starts with you believing you're valuable, because everything is an extension of your belief systems. If you actually believe that you are valuable, everyone around you is going to believe the same thing, because you are going to mirror that in your external world. So what I'm really trying to get across here is the connection between you, what you think, your belief systems, and your external world and the results that you're getting. We've already talked about this in a previous live, but I don't think that people understand this enough, because there's still people negotiating with others about their value. That means that you don't know your value. And we're not just talking about finances. I'm also talking about your ability to feel valuable in a relationship, in your friend circle, with your family. And this is at the root, I think, of all people's issues creating boundaries and asking for what they really want, getting the life that they really want. Because most people, and this is including myself, this is something I still have to work on. I'm not here preaching like I'm perfect. People have seriously damaged self-esteem most of the time. I know that sounds kind of crazy, and maybe this is a little bit depressing too, but it's the truth, because a lot of us were raised by people who didn't have great self-esteem. You know what I mean? And that's just the honest truth. And so if you're raised by people who weren't sure of themselves and didn't feel enough, then there's going to be some sort of that energy inside of you too. The more that you can overcome this and actually feel secure in who you are and your value, other people are going to match that. But here's another thing. There's going to be a lot of people that don't like it when you step into this energy, especially if these people have been profiting from you being lesser or taking advantage of you or manipulating you in some way. Because now that you know your value, now that you know who you are going to show up differently. You're going to set different boundaries. You are going to speak differently and engage differently with life. You're going to choose different people maybe. Maybe you're going to set, and by setting boundaries, I'm not talking about just speaking things. I'm talking about showing up differently. We've already discussed this in another live as well. And that is boundaries, right? Where do boundaries come from? What makes people have strong boundaries and other people have zero boundaries? It's birthed from your self-worth and your self-value. So this is just something that's been really on my mind this morning, and I think it's something that I really wanted to discuss, because a lot of people can manipulate you and use you and control you if you have low self-esteem, if you don't value yourself. This is how many businesses and corporations use people with very high skill sets and they don't even get paid that well. Why is that? Because they don't value themselves at the same level, right? And I don't want this to only be seen as a negative thing, because I know some people might be watching this and maybe it could be offensive. Actually, I do value myself. What are you talking about? Yes and no. Because if you actually take a step back and ask yourself, what is it that you really want in different areas of your life, financially? Where do you actually want to be, and how much do you actually want to make? 2, what is the type of relationship that you want to be in? How do you want to be treated? And then the third one, I would say, is your health. Maybe I'll add another one in there too, which is your spiritual and your mental health, right? But your physical health. What is it that you want? How do you want to feel? How do you want to look? What is the confidence that you want to have when you're wearing your clothes and how you're showing up in the world, right? And then, of course, your mental health. Where do you want to be spiritually? Confident, self-assured, showing up with the type of energy, and feeling happy and joyful and peaceful in your life. I think if you ask this question, most people are going to agree that they want to be fit and healthy, right? They want to look good physically. They want to be in a good partnership with someone who treats them good, who respects them, who has similar, compatibilities as them, so that it's a peaceful relationship. Someone they're attracted to, right? Someone that they can have good conversations with, they can hang out with, someone who supports them. And then, of course, we have financially. Most people, if they had a genie and you ask them, how much money do you want to make? Most people are probably going to say at least $10,000 a month, because that's going to be financial freedom in most parts of the world, right? So if people actually let themselves be honest about what they really wanted, why then don't people move toward it? Right? Because one thing is, you don't have it yet. Of course, you have to move toward it, and maybe there's a time delay. But why don't people at least try? Why don't people at least take a risk to achieve that? Especially knowing that we only have one life, right? To live the things that we want. I really do believe that this is because people don't value themselves enough. If you really believed that you were worthy of that lifestyle, that life, having your goals and dreams, you would take action toward those things. That is why if people are at a roadblock Or maybe you haven't even let yourself speak what you really want because you don't think that you deserve it. It's just some reflection, right? Some self-awareness exercise, because if we understood how short our time was here on this earth, I think more people would maybe take more risk. Because if you knew, because none of us really know how long we have, maybe you have 5 years, maybe 50, maybe 60, maybe 10. How would you show up differently? Would we be moving toward our goals faster? Would we maybe decide that holding grudges isn't worth it? Would we maybe decide to forgive people so that we can be at peace? Maybe we would decide to stop delaying the feeling of being successful and actually just decide to feel good now and feel worthy now of those things, instead of waiting for the external world to give you permission to feel good enough to have those things. So, yeah, I think that the root of every single problem that people have when it comes to either one, believing that they deserve something, actually moving toward the things, even dreaming bigger and actually being honest about what they want, stems from the lack of value that they have on themselves and not feeling good enough or deserving enough of those things. So how do we change that? We change that by, one, seeing it, right? Because if we don't acknowledge that it exists and that it's there, then we can't change it. But once we know that it exists, then we can start to ask questions. Is this true? Is it true that I'm not good enough? Is it true? And maybe initially your answer is going to be yes, because you have a lot of people in your life that have convinced you why you're not good enough and why you're not valuable. But then as you start to question even more with the right questions, for example, why do I believe this? Is it true? And then, is it possible that I actually am a valuable person? What if I am a valuable person? What if I am good enough? And I've talked about this in previous videos that I've made, and that is the power of questions. Because when we're talking about changing a belief system, sometimes it's harder to do that if you're just trying to go cold turkey, meaning if you just go from, I feel like a piece of shit, I don't like myself, when I look in the mirror, I'm mad at myself, I don't trust myself, all these negative things that you have around yourself, right? If you just go into the mirror and you're like, I love you, your brain is like, yeah, F you. I don't believe anything you're saying. That's normal. But if you approach it with a question, you're more receptive. If I go into the mirror and I say, I love you, when my body's like, yeah, you actually hate yourself, you're actually going to feel more resistance, right? It's going to be like, you're going to probably want to punch yourself or punch the mirror out, right? Or you can say, what if I am lovable? There's no resistance because there's curiosity there. Now you're asking a question. You're opening the door for a different perception, for a different way of thinking. And when you ask these questions enough, you're going to create a space then for your brain to accept a new belief, a new reality, a new way of seeing things. This has been really, really powerful for me because I used to use affirmations a lot, and it really doesn't work until you remove the resistance. Because then once again, if you're just going in straight with affirmations, a lot of the time that doesn't work. And then people give up on it altogether because they're like, oh my gosh, it didn't work for me. This didn't work for me. Yeah, well, yeah, it didn't, because you had too much resistance. So try asking questions, better questions. And then you can move to affirmations afterwards when you're more receptive to it. When you can tell yourself in the mirror, I love you, you are valuable. And it doesn't feel like cringe. It's more like, that's nice to hear. Right? So these are the type of things that we do so we can start changing how we approach ourselves. Because the cliche thing that we hear from people all the time, which is people treat you how you treat you. People hear that, but they have no idea the depth of what this actually means. How you speak to yourself internally and how you treat yourself is 100% how people will treat you, because you're going to allow people to treat you like crap if you treat you like crap. If you speak to yourself in so many negative ways and you're putting yourself down, you're not even going to notice when someone else does that to you because you do it to you. It's normal, right? So if you want to be treated better, then you have to treat yourself better. Respect yourself more. Now you're going to notice when there's incongruencies in other people's behavior because you see it and you became aware of it first with yourself. And this is where a lot of people have a hard time because, of course, if you're not setting boundaries with yourself, then people get confused when they have these people come in their life, these new relationships and things and problems happen. They're like, I didn't even notice. I didn't even see the red flags. Yeah. Yeah, that's normal. I mean, you can't be surprised if you haven't looking, that's not a word. If you haven't looked within yourself to see what is going on inside of your inner world, what is the relationship that you have with yourself, then how do we expect to have a relationship with other people, a healthy relationship with other people? We don't even have a healthy relationship with ourselves. So going back to what we started with in the beginning, and that is value. We create value by learning where our true value comes from. True value is not in material things and your accomplishments. Your true value comes in the fact that you exist. Yes, it's that simple. But then, of course, the value that you start to build on yourself comes from the extension of that belief system. Because now you're going to take different actions. You're going to show up differently in people around you, right? You treat them differently. And then other people are going to perceive you as the value that you are, regardless of your situations. Then you're going to have real people in your life that see you for more than just your physical body. They see you for more than your accomplishments. They're going to see you for more than just your social media following, right? Because you have to know your value and where that comes from before anyone else is going to be able to mirror that to you and see that. Right? So I guess the moral of the story is life is mirroring you. Do you like what you see? If you do, congratulations, you're doing something right. If you're not, then maybe we need to take a step back and ask some different questions. Maybe we need to become aware of where our thinking patterns are. How are we treating ourselves? Are we respecting ourselves? Right? So anyways, I need to go. I have some other things I got to do today, but as I promised, my goal is to go live every day except for Sunday. I did miss yesterday. Yesterday was a crazy day. I was very busy with the launch of some new stuff. But yeah, so that's kind of the biggest thing, is that I want to get on here with you guys and share the things that I've learned throughout my journey. And basically, every single one of us has a past. We all have a story, but everything in life is always about how you respond to it, right? I'll share more about my own personal story as we go along, right? Some of you may know a little bit about my past, but the cool thing about sharing your story and, for example, sharing where you've came from is I think it helps people connect with you, relate with you. So they're like, oh, wow, if she did it, so can I. If you've come from this hard situation and you got through it, then so can I, right? That is the inspiration behind so many stories and so many people's lives, is that we can show people who've gone through some hard stuff, really challenging situations, and then they got through it because they learned how to respond to situations. Because it's not the situation that makes the person. It's the response to the situation. Two people can go through the very same trauma. Both people can be treated like crap, abused, and all these things. But the one who becomes successful is the one who learns how to respond to it. The one who learns how to reframe their mind, change their belief systems, and move beyond the victim mentality. The one who remains a victim and then their life goes downhill is the one who remains a victim. Everything is a reflection of your belief systems. And of course, that is what I really want to share with people. It's like, I've gone through certain things in my life. I decided to make the best of it. And now I get to show up and hopefully share this with other people that maybe will be receptive to this message and learn from this and move forward, have the right mindset that will help you get through challenges, get through things, and actually achieve the life that you deserve. Because like I said, I really don't believe that we came here to suffer. I refuse to believe that. I believe that we incarnated on this planet and in this world to have a good time, to learn, to experience, to have the ups and downs, yes, but to have more ups than downs, to get the things that we want. I don't think we've even scratched the surface of what we're capable of as human beings. So let's keep pushing this forward. But the only way that we're going to be able to go to the next level and reach our potential as human beings is if we have the right mindset and allow ourselves to remove our fears and our limiting beliefs and just keep going. Okay. So if you guys like this stuff, of course, follow me. You can follow me over on TikTok right now. I'm obviously multi-streaming. I have my YouTube channel. I also have TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. You can catch me on all those platforms. I will be posting a lot more content on this same subject. I really love talking about mindset and belief systems. I think that's probably at the root of my passions, because I understand at this point, and I know, it's not even an understanding, I know everything is an extension of my inner world, because when I changed my inner world, my entire world around me changed. So at this point, it's not just an understanding or a belief, it's a knowing. And a knowing happens when you live something, you experience it, and now you know it, right? So now I get to share that with you guys. And if you like to learn more about mindset, belief systems, manifestation, health, spirituality, how you can bridge the gap between spirituality and practicality, because one thing is wishing and hoping and all that stuff, and then one thing is actually, how do I change my life? How does my external world actually change? Then definitely follow me, because I'll be sharing a lot more about that in the future. So anyways, gotta run, guys. I got some stuff to do, but thank you guys for joining. Let me go ahead and check really fast, because sometimes I jump off and I don't read if I have any questions. But let me check here really quick. Focus on priorities. Yes, yes, yes. I'm worthy. Okay, just a lot of comments, but not really a lot of questions. Are you a Life Path 7? No, I'm not. Hello. Okay. Okay. No questions there. So I think we're good to go. Thank you guys again, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.